Even annoying.
All right, so yeah.
Howdy, everyone. This is Empowering Indigenous Communities and Sustainable Energy Transitions, or Microgrids for Enhanced Resilience, by me, Joshua Dennis. To set the stage to discuss my key findings, I had two pretty pertinent questions that I wanted to answer, which was how do microgrids improve energy resilience and reliability, and how do microgrids implementation address intergenerational energy disparities. To get us through this, my focus areas will be historical context, state and federal legislation, energy justice and microgrids, and then survey findings, implications and challenges, and we'll conclude from there. So I wanted to highlight that energy burdens and even lack of energy faced by Native Americans is something that we hardly talk about. Historically, Indigenous people have been forced from where they lived, and that usually means that they were severed from their original community and resources, basically their ways of living. This has led to infrastructure gaps because reservations have historically been in remote and I guess places where there aren't a lot of resources. And this kind of points to a lot of the things that are happening that undermine sovereignty for Indigenous people, more particularly energy sovereignty. Sorry about that. Okay, so the term merciless Indian savages exemplifies the persuasive dehumanization of Indigenous people by European settlers and colonists. The rhetoric casts Native Americans as barbaric or savage, which provides a moral justification for land dispossession, violence, and colonization. Such language was rooted in fear and propaganda. The portrayal overlooked the realities that Native Americans were sovereign nations. And the effect of this dehumanization was profound. It fueled policies like land theft, forced removal, such as the Trail of Tears and the Long Walk, and with numerous systemic injustices. These acts inflicted deep scars, not only for those who witnessed or were who endured them, but also their descendants. With that context, I explored the policy landscape for contemporary tribal communities. The Clean Energy Transformation Act passed in 2019 mandates that utilities in Washington state eliminate coal-fired electric production and use by 2025. By 2045, utilities must achieve 100% emission-free generation. CETA will also provide utilities also requires utilities to ensure that the energy transition benefits all customers. More importantly, that 30% of the benefits go towards vulnerable populations and highly impacted communities, together collectively known as named communities. In addition, Washington legislation updated its statewide emission reduction targets in 2021 with the Climate Commitment Act. This sets it to 95% reduction by 2050. The legislation also initiated the Cap and Invest program, which reduces emissions by issuing allowances to certain emitters and gradually tapering these allowances over time to align with the reduction targets. On the federal level, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, or the IIJA of 2021, allocated $1.2 trillion to modernization of U.S. infrastructure. It includes investments to enhance clean energy, climate resilience, equitable access, addressing underserved communities and tribal communities as well. The Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 invest 369 billion to climate and energy initiatives, aiming to cut US emissions by 40% by 2040. It also expands the Tribal Energy Guarantee Program to $20 billion, supporting energy sovereignty and resilience. However, tight deadlines and limited resources remain barriers for tribal communities to access these resources. Energy justice rooted in environmental and climate justice focuses on equitable access to energy resources and the fair distribution of benefits and burdens, particularly for historically marginalized communities. It is guided by 4 key principles. Procedural justice, which sees all people have a seat at the table when it comes to energy planning. The distributional justice, where the benefits flow, and restorative justice, which seeks to correct historical injustices by restoring resources and opportunities, fostering equality and resilience, and recognition justice. This tenet values the unique identities and contributions of marginalized groups, integrating their cultural and social contexts into energy planning. And then there are the microgrids themselves, which consist of load, control, distributed energy resources, and generation. Load being residential buildings, commercial and industrial buildings, and institutions like schools or hospitals. The control is the brain of the microgrid. It manages energy generation, storage, and distribution. It balances supply and demand in real time to prevent waste. It also enables an island mode, which allows the microgrid to disconnect from the main grid during times when the main grid might have an emergency. And the microgrid is able to continue working and operating. Then we have the distributed energy resources, or DERs. Those include things like solar, PV, wind generation, battery energy storage systems, the smart thermostats, or even the water heaters with communication components, which can be operated remotely to regulate and change usage, shaving, curtailing, or even mitigating the need for additional plant build. So you don't have to build new sources of generation. And then there's generation itself, which on microgrids are usually small, localized, includes sun, solar PV, wind, hydro, and there's also backup generation in case of emergencies. Additionally, there's combined heat and power for more industrial or commercial systems. In my findings, the Spokane Tribe of Indians, or STOI, had 4 goals identified in their strategic energy planning document. They want to establish a tribal utility authority, which is kind of akin to what we understand to know as a utility, but it focuses on itself so that they'd be able to do their own planning, procurement, and implementation of energy projects. An effort to lower energy costs highlights distributional justice for the community, and this is all coming from just the tribal governance. Additionally, the community education and workforce development demonstrates procedural justice because it fosters participation and building capacity. A focus on sustainability, reliability, and resilience reflects restorative justice, addressing past energy inequities and paving the way for sustainable energy use. Together, STOI's initiatives, including the microgrid project, serve as a replicable model of energy sovereignty for other Indigenous communities to follow. Next is Vista's goal, or the major investor-owned utility that is neighboring the Spokane Reservation. Their procedural justice ensure their goals are the procedural in terms of energy justice or procedural justice, which ensures community engagement and energy decision-making. Recognition justice addresses energy needs in underserved areas. Distributional justice ensures equitable allocation of resources and benefits. Restorative justice focuses on correcting historical energy inequalities. Annually, Avista allocates $5 million to the Named Community Investment Fund, which is portion of it is kind of highlighted by the Equity Advisory Group. They can identify projects that they need to happen in their community or for Avista to spend on those projects. And the EAG identified the Spokane Reservation as one of the people who needed one of the communities that needed the resources. The Spokane Tribes partnership with the Avista began with the energy audits that were started by the equity advisory groups, and it led to the collaborative effort that secured funding from the Washington State Clean Energy Fund to develop the microgrid project in Wellipanet. So the methodological framework was to analyze the documents from Spokane Tribe of Indians and Avista's corporations, and those offer key insights into planning, development, and implementation. I also conducted a survey with SCOI community members to gather their perspectives on energy, resilience, reliability, and justice. I employed a stratified randomized sampling method aiming for approximately 100 participants. The survey was promoted on social media and through physical postings in Wellipanet, Washington, and it ran from August to November of this year. The survey combined Likert scale and multi-choice questions. Here are the questions. As you can see, most of these follow into one of three categories, which was energy access and reliability, energy efficiency, and home infrastructure, knowledge, and engagement with energy policies. The study adhered to institutional review board guidelines to ensure the rights, privacy, and well-being of all participants. And respect for the Spokane tribe sovereignty and cultural practice was central. Additionally, the research aligned with the United Nations Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples, or UNDRIP, and more importantly, the free, prior, and informed consent of all participants. Some key findings were that in the survey were that of those who said that they had electricity, 41% said that they had their power shut off due to financial difficulties in the past year. And of those who had gas in their homes, about 46 said that they had their gas shut off because of financial difficulties as well. And this aligned with the STOI study in their strategic energy plan that said about 63% of respondents indicated struggles with the escalating cost of energy derived from finite sources. Additionally, I asked, is your home insulated? 78% responded to the affirmative. And for question 25, could your home use more or better insulation? 61% responded in the affirmative as well. This kind of, I think, in my opinion, may be the reason 84% of the respondents indicated they were interested in more information on ways to save their on their energy usage. One of the most surprising findings that I found was when I asked what kind of vehicle do you drive, for those who did drive a vehicle, 44% drove new or responded that they drove new energy vehicle, which was hybrids or electrics. In Avista's transportation electrification report, they found that there was a 50% increase of registered electric vehicles from last year to this year. The Spokane microgrid serves as a scalable model that other Indigenous communities can adopt to overcome their energy equity challenges. By following established protocols, neighboring communities can replicate this successful partnership. Key lessons include the importance of culturally appropriate partnerships and the use of strategic energy plans to implement specific community needs. This approach ensures solutions are not only effective, but respectful and inclusive. One of the main challenges with this limited study one of the main challenges of the study was limited survey participation, which stemmed from historical mistrust and the short research window. To address these barriers, I recommend focusing efforts within communities where trust and belonging can be cultivated, ensuring that the benefits of participation are clear. Building long-term relationships with Indigenous communities is also critical for fostering, collaborating, and in overcoming systemic challenges. In conclusion, microgrids significantly enhance energy resilience, reliability, and sovereignty, particularly for Indigenous communities. By applying the energy justice framework, these solutions address systemic inequalities and ensure equitable outcomes. On a broader scale, this work serves as a model for tackling energy disparities in Indigenous communities and aligns with larger climate justice and sustainability goals. Thank you.